I thought it would be fun to go back in time a little bit and revisit some of my favorite products from 5 years ago. At first, I thought this would be like hilarious to go through and like dip into old things that I used to love, and then I went back through my own videos from 2017, which is 5 years ago. I watched all my favorites videos. I watched the best of the year video that I made, and it wasn't that funny because there are things that I still love that I started loving 5 years ago. So many of those things have really stuck into my routine. Some of the things I obviously have kind of slipped out, but most things I still love. So I'm going to be doing a full face using products that I used to love 5 years ago. And you guys will see the ones that have stuck with me through 5 years and some old nostalgic favorites that I'm honestly so excited to dip back into. And I'm mostly excited to use them all at once again because I feel like it's been forever since I've done that. We're gonna start with brows, and this brow product I fell in love with 5 years ago, and honestly, it's been the most consistent brow product in my routine since, and that is this. The Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, guys. Can you believe that like I discovered my love for this in 2017? Are you kidding me? I've gone through so many. It's insane. I usually like to use the shade 4 or gray. This one is 3.5. It's all that I have right now. I've been using the Goof Proof one in the gray shade recently because I just like that color for me. 3.5 is fine. It's just a little bit warmer, but at least it's the same formula. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my brows with this. I think this video is gonna be really fun because it's gonna really show what has stood the test of time for me. Through all the trends, through all the makeup launches that have happened in the past 5 years, it's actually crazy to me how many of these things I still get excited to use, and how many of these things I still choose over everything else that's launched or that I've discovered since then. This next product is a bit of a throwback. I used to love and use the MAC paint pots all the time to prime my eyes, specifically the shade Soft Ochre, which now I feel like I would use the shade Painterly a little bit more. This one is a little bit more yellow toned, and I have since discovered my NARS eyeshadow primer, so I don't really reach for this as much. But I know a lot of people still do, but we're just gonna use this to prime the eyes. You can see how yellow it is. I used Soft Ochre on myself quite a bit because that's what everyone on YouTube was doing at the time. But again, now I understand like undertones a little better, and I don't go as yellow with my prep products or foundations as I used to 5 years ago. I've kind of learned what actually matches me well. So again, I would probably go for the shade Painterly over this for myself, which I had somewhere, but I couldn't find it before this. So we're going to stay true to my 2017 self and use a more yellow toned base. Another shade in this formula that I still really like is Groundwork. It's a nice kind of taupey brown. I find that I don't really use these on myself as much as I do when I'm doing someone else's makeup because I feel like they're still a good foolproof formula. But for me personally, I have been loving my NARS primer a little bit more. Well, a lot of it more. That's really my go-to. I was giddy when I realized that I would be able to dip into this palette again, and I hope it doesn't give me pink eye because this is the same palette from 5 years ago. I probably should repurchase it, but honestly, it's my own collection. I have a sanitizing spray that I use on all my eyeshadow palettes and powders and things like that. It's probably expired by now, but we're gonna use it for this video, and I'm just like so sentimental that I can't get rid of this one. Even if I replaced it, I would probably still keep this because it's my original. The Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. You guys, this really stole my heart in 2017. It was definitely by far my most used eyeshadow palette. I was obsessed with this, as I'm sure a lot of you guys were as well. So I'm super excited to dip back into this, and hopefully everything's okay. I wouldn't recommend you know, using your super old palettes, but honestly, it's my personal collection and I am gonna do it for this video, and honestly, I am excited to use it again. So we are gonna go into Georgia, which is this color right here, and I'm gonna start buffing that right on top of the Soft Ochre paint pot as my transition shade. Oh my goodness, already I'm excited. Such a pretty color. Peaches were like my jam back in the day, and I feel like I'm getting back into them a little bit more these days, but this palette really did something for me. I loved it. Okay, we're gonna dip into the shade Puree, which is this one right here. It's a nice kind of warm peachy brown, and I'm gonna start warming things up and kind of creating a little bit of depth on the outer edge of the eye. Well, it's still performing like a dream, even though this is my original palette. It's still working really well, and it still smells like peaches. That's one of my favorite parts about this palette was just the whole experience, like with the scent, the color palette obviously, the textures in here is just one of the best palettes I feel like that's ever been made. That's just my personal opinion anyway. I really love this palette. I'm taking that brush that we were using and just kind of buffing that out. I remember my favorite shimmer shade, you can kind of tell, was this one, Luscious. So I'm going to use this today. I'm going to take that on a brush and I'm going to use this as my eyelid color. Oh my gosh, it's still so pretty. My favorite color for the inner corner was always Nectar, which is this one right here. So I'm going to do the same thing and just dip into that and apply that to the inner corners of the eye. And then also I'm going to apply what's left on the brush underneath the brows. I'm going back in with the shade Georgia, which was that transition color, and just mixing in a little bit more pink right here above the shimmer shade, just to make sure I didn't lose any of that because I really love that color. Okay, we're gonna keep it there for today. The mascara that I discovered and loved, well, initially fell in love with in 2017 and still adore and repurchase over and over and over is the L'Oreal Lash Paradise Mascara. I can't believe that I've been using this formula for 5 years. It has just stayed in my collection. I still love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply this to the top lashes only, and then we're gonna go into base, which I'm so excited to show you the products that I fell in love with in 2017 because they are still some of my all-time favorites. I was just thinking about the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I'm pretty sure it was one of my first more high-end palettes that I ever received, and my husband actually got this for me for my birthday, which was February. I'm pretty sure it was February 2017. He got me this for my birthday, and I was so excited because everyone on YouTube was talking about it. My channel was still fairly new, and I was just so excited to be able to create tutorials using it and have something a little more trendy to use in my videos. And so there's just a lot of love for this palette that, I don't know, it just brings back a lot of good memories from that time. Well, it looks like I'm out of makeup wipes over here, so I'm just taking a tissue to try to wipe away any fallout underneath the eyes gently. A primer that became a favorite of mine in 2017 that I still use like crazy and have gone through so many, and I still love to use on people when I do their makeup as well because it's just amazing. It's this right here. I'm so excited to use this again. This is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. Can you even believe it? I can't believe that it was 5 years ago that I discovered this product because I still love it. I love this. So I'm just gonna work that into the skin. Oh, the smell brings back a lot of memories as well. I think this smells so good. Okay, as that sinks in, I'm gonna share with you the foundation that I'm wanting to use. Well, I might mix two because in my end of year video, these were my top 2 foundations. I think there was another Hourglass one that I don't have anymore and that I never repurchased actually. But the Estee Lauder Double Wear Makeup foundation is what I discovered in 2017 and was obsessed with that year. And it has really been an incredible foundation for me throughout the years for special occasions. Just, it's such a good foundation for when I want my makeup to last all day and be fuss free. I also discovered the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation that year, which I still really do enjoy. It's been a long time since I've used this on my channel though, so I thought it could be fun to mix the two. I was watching my old videos and, you know, my skin was not in the best shape ever. In 2017, I have since healed a lot of the core issues that were causing my acne, and so I feel like I'm in a good place. But I used to use a lot of foundation, so these full coverage foundations were my go-to because it would just boost my confidence and give me the coverage I wanted. So anyway, I feel like I'm just gonna use a little bit of the Hourglass one, just gonna dot this around. I used to mix 2 shades, but now I only have 1 shade, and this is the shade Shell. It might be a little too deep for me for right now. That's okay. And then I used to use Desert Beige, which I still do use sometimes, but I have since discovered the shade 1 and 2 Ecru, and I feel like that's a little bit of a better match for me in the Estee Lauder formula. Still a little deep for me right now though, but hopefully it will still all look okay. And I'm gonna try a less is more approach this time around. So I'm gonna take my Hourglass brush and just dip into my Estee Lauder foundation and then kind of stipple that around to evenly distribute it, and then just mix it in with my Hourglass foundation. It's so interesting to revisit these types of products because I feel like my taste has changed a little bit, you know? At least in my everyday foundations, like the Estee Lauder Double Wear used to be my everyday foundation. And now it's something I reach for if I want my skin to look really nice in pictures or if I need it to last all day, if I'm a guest at a wedding or something like that. I still keep it in my collection for those occasions, but it's not like my everyday foundation like it used to be. I was just such a full coverage foundation kind of a girl in 2017. I still am, okay? But I feel like there's more of a time and place for it now, where before it was just like full coverage every day. All right, we're gonna move on to concealer, another product that I still have in my collection and still really love, and that's this right here. I've repurchased this time and time again. It's the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. I feel like people still talk about this concealer. It's just so fun to see like the timeless classics that I discovered 5 years ago and how many of them are still what I would recommend to people. So I'm just gonna use this underneath the eyes. By the way, this is the shade Ivory. I'll use a little bit down the center of the face too to brighten. And then I'm just gonna press that into the skin with my sponge. Wow, what a flawless combo, honestly. Like layering that concealer over top of the Hourglass and Estee Lauder. It creates such a beautiful, flawless finish. Wow, that looks really nice, actually. You know, I was onto something in 2017, clearly. Like, this looks really good. All right, before we set the face with powder, I have a cream bronzer that I loved and discovered in 2017, which I actually couldn't believe it was 2017 when I found this. And it was actually when it launched. And now it's like so iconic, especially recently, like in the last year. I feel like it's really blown up on TikTok. And it was sold out everywhere. Like it was something that I would just constantly kind of keep in my collection because I really loved it. And I love using it on other people too. And then it went viral on TikTok and was sold out forever, and they just finally restocked it, and I literally placed an order for some new replacements of these like 3 days ago when they restocked. And that's the Charlotte Tilbury contour wands and the highlight wand as well, which I will wear later. But the contour wands, like, can you even believe it? I can't believe I discovered this 5 years ago. It's insane. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dot this just around the skin. This is fair to medium. I love the more sheer formula that this has. It's so good. And it's still something that I feel like performs better than a lot of the products that have come out since then. This is still one of my favorites. So I'm just gonna blend this in. I'm using my foundation brush because I feel like that really helps blend it even better. But this was one of the products I was the most shocked to see that I first tried out in 2017. I thought it would be like 2018 or 19 that I found this, but nope, I've loved it for 5 years, I guess. After that's applied, I'm just gonna go ahead and go around everything with a sponge one more time, just to make sure it's extra blended before we set it with powder. One of the powders that I loved in 2017 was from a brand called Aesthetica, which I would use all the time. I used their sponges, their brushes, and their powder, and I bought it on Amazon. I no longer use that one, but another discovery that I loved and used in 2017 that I still love and use is the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. So those were my top two. Maybe I should revisit the Aesthetica one if they still make it. I'll have to check Amazon because I used to love that one. But the Laura Mercier one has really stood the test of time. I still use it, you guys know, especially recently I've been using the rose-colored version of this in like all my latest videos, so it's kind of crazy to have something be so consistent in my routine for so long now. So I'm just gonna use this to set the entire face, underneath the eyes and on the sides of the face. You guys know the drill. And then I have a powder bronzer that we're gonna wear, and then we'll finish up the eye look. Okay, a powder bronzer that I fell in love with 5 years ago is the Hoola Light Bronzer. I love this so much. Still, they have since updated their packaging just recently, like when they launched all those new blushes and stuff, so I should probably update this, but it's still the same formula. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this to warm up the complexion. I remember being so happy about this because I do have fair skin, and up until that point, a lot of the popular bronzers were just a little too much for me or a little too orangey for me. Like the Marc Jacobs one was what everyone talked about, and I'm not sure if I had tried that yet in 2017, but I remember when I tried all those out, even the original Hoola, like it just was a little too much for me. So when they launched this, it felt like a much better fit for myself and my skin tone. And I honestly still feel that way. I think it's a really nice bronzer color for fair skin. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of blend that in with my powder brush. And then we'll do a quick lower lash line situation. Nothing crazy though. I'm just gonna take that same Georgia color, which was that pink that we used. And I'm just gonna use that as my transition shade on the lower lash line. Next, I'm gonna take Puree, which was that brown shade. And I'm gonna go on the outer third of that lower lash line. And then lastly, I'm gonna take Luscious, which is my favorite gold shade in the palette. It's the same one that I used on the eyelid. And I'm gonna use that to kind of brighten up that lower lash line. I feel like that's all I wanna do on the lower lash line, so I'm just gonna take that brush we were using with the Georgia color, kind of buff that out. And then I'm going to apply the same L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara to the lower lashes, just to complete the look. Okay, for blush, I fell in love with Hourglass blushes 5 years ago, and specifically the shade Euphoric Fusion was my go-to. So I'm gonna wear this. It has like a more of a plummy undertone to it. It kind of looks scary in the pan, but it's actually really stunning once applied to the cheeks. So I'm just gonna smile and apply this to the apples of the cheeks. I feel like nowadays I reach for the shade Sublime Flush a little bit more than this one, but maybe I should reach for this again because this really was my favorite for a long time. And it does give such a pretty, almost berry glow to the cheeks, which is so nice. I actually really like that. Okay, I was so excited to see that my favorite highlighter discovered 5 years ago was Essence Pure Nude. Still one of my all-time favorite drugstore highlighters. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply that on the high points of the face. You know, I also was going to use the Spotlight highlighter from Charlotte Tilbury, but I feel like there's enough glow on my cheeks. So just know that I also enjoyed this 5 years ago, and I just reordered this as well because it was almost out. Okay, we're almost done. For lips, 5 years ago was the era of liquid lipsticks, and my favorites were Stone from Dose of Colors, Truffle from Dose of Colors, and then this Giorgio Armani liquid lipstick in the shade 202. So I'm gonna swatch these just to see what would make the most sense. Oh, this is the matte one. I meant to grab the matte one of Truffle, but this is the Velvet Mousse. I might have to go grab the matte version so I can be very true to 2017. You can kind of get a feel for my favorite types of colors back then though. So here's Stone, here's Truffle, and here's the Armani 202. Which one should I use? I'm leaning toward Truffle. Let me see if I can find, I know I have it. I just need the liquid lipstick formula of Truffle, not the mousse one, because that one hadn't launched yet, so I was into like the liquid lip. For some reason, I can't seem to find my Truffle liquid lip. So, you know what we'll do? Well, I do feel like Truffle would be the best match. I'm just gonna have to use the mousse shade. I really wanna stay true to the matte formula, so I am gonna go into Stone, which I feel like will still work with this look. I didn't use lip liners too much back in the day, and the ones I did use, I don't have anymore. I would usually just use my liquid lipstick as kind of my lip liner of choice. This is still such a pretty color. Feels so weird without a lip liner though, like I genuinely would love to kind of contour the edges of this, but it is what it is. Okay, we're gonna let that kind of dry down while I assess the situation. I actually like where everything's at. Just adding a little more bronzer with the brush and just a tiny bit more blush. All right, the setting spray that I fell in love with in 2017 and still use, not as much as I should though. I feel like I use more long-lasting setting sprays a little bit more, but the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist is what I discovered and loved and was very popular at the time. So I've repurchased this a couple of times. It's been a while. I feel like this is almost out. Huh, maybe not. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray this all over the face. I forgot how nice the mist is on that. The smell takes me back too. And then I'm gonna take my sponge and just press that into the skin. And do you wanna know what else was a favorite 5 years ago? My Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. I discovered some of my all-time favorites 5 years ago. It's just crazy to me how many things I still use that came out of that time frame. 2017 was like an iconic time on YouTube, and I just feel like all of these like timeless classic essential products were so popular. So I'm just gonna press that into the skin in the T-zone. And then my brow gel obsession was the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, which you guys know is still like my favorite brow gel. So I'm gonna set the brows with this. Well, I'll tell you what, I was really onto something 5 years ago with these products. I feel like a lot of the complexion products are very matte. I would normally go a little bit more dewy. It was starting to look a little powdery halfway through, but honestly, once I added this setting spray, it really melted everything into the skin and looks beautiful. The lip is what I'm kind of like struggling with a little. I haven't worn a matte liquid lipstick in a really long time, and this formula specifically, while it's very comfortable, it's very much a matte formula. So I typically either use the more moussey formulas from Dose of Colors now, or I will at least pat on like a balm or a gloss on top of my liquid lips. But that was just the era, you know, like I didn't want anything to do with a gloss 5 years ago, which is insane to me because we've come so far and things are so different. I wonder if it will ever go back to like matte lips the way it was in 2017, 2016, you know? Like I wonder if we'll ever get there again or if that was just a trend for the moment. I don't know. I hope you all enjoyed seeing me reach for my favorites from 5 years ago. And I actually love how my makeup looks. I would love to hear from you guys if there's any of these products that are still in your routine the way that they are in mine. Let me know what those products are, or if there's products that you have kept in your routine for years and years that I didn't talk about today. I would love to hear what those are too, so be sure to leave a comment down below. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie and I would love for you to join the family. You can do so by hitting the subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber but you want to be notified on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, click on the bell after you subscribe and you'll get a notification every single time I post. That was such a fun video for me to film. I loved going down memory lane and just putting everything on my face again. I love this look. I can't wait to wear it for the rest of the night. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye.